Welcome to the Money GPS. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to talk about books. Over the years, I've been asked over and over again, tell us what books you've read. And so I'm not just going to give you a list of books, I'm going to show you a bunch and what I got out of them. Because just giving you the list is probably not going to be enough. So I'm going to give you a little bit of snippet of each and why I think they're important. I didn't include every book I've read, just the most important ones and for different reasons. And that made me really well-rounded in my knowledge. This is only going to be financial related books, okay? This is important. I'll talk about that more at the end. I think it's interesting that you're going to see different levels of the financial knowledge with looking just at, let's say, trading books. You're never going to get the three-dimensional level of depth required to understand the full picture. So let's look at this right now. All the links will be in the description. They are affiliate links. You can use them. You don't have to. Everything's there for you if you decide to do so. So let's get into it here. Number one, the most important book, in my opinion, to read is The Creature from Jekyll Island. I know many of my subscribers have already read this book and think it's amazing, but if you haven't already, essentially this is talking about the origins of the Federal Reserve. Everything, how it came to be. But you'll notice, and others can attest to this, by the time you get to about 30% through the book, you're already completely convinced about this organization. And then he goes into a whole different realm you were not expecting because the title of the book, you understand based on this, the way you look at it, okay, it's about the Fed, but it goes way more into it. I mean, it's just incredible. Now, it's a big book. Be expecting that. Big is an understatement. It's a big one, but it's well written and written very easily. So this is the one, if I have to say read one book, this is the one. Now look at the next one. Actually, this is one that most people have never heard of. I've recommended it probably 250 times. And the people that have read it after my recommendation have said, this is incredible. I can't believe I didn't hear about this before. It's called Infectious Greed, and it's written by Frank Partnoy. And so this book here, the way I saw it was, if you think about Michael Lewis's books, really catchy, entertaining, but good as well, right? The Big Short, that kind of book. Imagine that, but way more depth to it. And so he talks about derivatives coming to be like 80s into 90s and beyond. This is coming at a time, like it says here, like it's 2003 was the first publishing. So you're not getting like financial crisis information and beyond, but it explains why we have the problems we have today. Really good, really detailed. Another thick book, it's about 500 pages. In my opinion, very well worth the read. And I have to do it. I had to do this. This is the Money GPS written by David Quintieri. And the Money GPS, I'm selfishly plugging my own book and as well as Global Economic Collapse, these two books. Why? Because this is the foundational knowledge. I'll get into more about that at the very end of this video because I just want to list off the books. These are the foundation for everything. If you read these two books together, it's $30, okay? Between these two books, you are going to understand the absolute foundational elements of the financial system, of the stock market, explained so easily. My ability to, the proper grammar and everything, I don't have that. But what I do have the ability to do is to take a whole bunch of data and condense them down to a very simplified way. Just I can do that written out. I do that better than on my videos, in my opinion. If you're looking for did I put the comma in the right place and everything, I assure you I didn't. Okay? So check out these books if you want. Like I said, links in the description. Robert Kiyosaki, I've read many of his books. His most recent book It's called Fake. Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. Now, this one, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is his most famous book, and of course I've read that book and several others that are quite popular. This one I liked because he talks about, a few different things. One of those aspects was he made it really clear, and I've always thought about like this, but I never put it into a sentence, and that is you use precious metals as savings. And what does that mean? Savings. You wouldn't save something to then sell it. You would save it indefinitely. And the way he puts it in the book is really good. So Fake by Robert Kiyosaki. And again, none of these authors, you don't have to like these people. You don't have to, you heard a story about this guy or that guy. For me, I've read Nouriel Roubini's book. I've read all kinds of different authors that I don't agree with them. They have like a political slant to them, and I don't care. I am reading the book for the information contained within those pages. That's what I do. So anyway, that's up to you. The Dollar Crisis by Richard Duncan. So if you've read or heard about Mike Maloney has a good book as well, which I didn't include there simply because I know so many people have read that book. But The Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver, which, by the way, I think it should be titled something else. I think it should be like The History of Money, because he explains that. And he's making the case to buy gold and silver, obviously. But so you read that book. This is like 2.0 of that book, The Dollar Crisis. Again, it was written several years ago. It's still very relevant today. Okay. The Dollar Crisis by Richard Duncan. And the way I like to think of it is it's 2.0 on Mike Maloney's book, more in depth, a lot of good stuff. Okay, so Ray Dalio, I just finished literally today or yesterday. I just finished the audiobook version. And by the way, I'll talk about books versus audiobooks and so on in the next part here. I just want to list out the books. This one, he has multiple books called Principles, but this is specifically Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. I really like this book because it gets into the entire history, the whole history of the monetary system, of different empires, why they come up, why they go down. And at the end of the book, he talks about China and the US, the relationship. So first he talks about China as an empire, and then the next chapter after was, the sort of China-US type relationship. He gets into a lot of that. Very relevant right now. It was, this is a recent release. He talks about the Taiwan situation. He thought like a lot of stuff is in there. So I think it was really good. I love history. I'm a student of history. And I just think it's fantastic personally. Okay. So that's that. I can go on about that. I've read the other Principles book, or actually this was an audiobook, and the other one I listened to an audiobook. By the way, maybe I'll get into the end. Zip, moving on. Money Master the Game. This is Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins' book, again, a huge one. This is almost 700 pages. So I listened to the audiobook of this one. I'll just say it now. While I exercise, I listen to audiobooks. But basically, this one here is not like, don't think of this as, the creature from Jekyll Island. You're not going to get that type of thing from this book. What you are going to get is what he basically did is he sat down with Ray Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones, like all of the very, very successful investors over the years, and asked them what their secret sauce is, basically. And he put that all down and he explains all of them. And then he kind of gives you like a program. You should do this, this, and this, and explains why you should do it. You're not going to get into any of like how the Federal Reserve got set up and, the inner workings of no. It's like, I think this book is better than any traditional financial advisor that you're going to find at your bank and so on. That's the way I see it, and I actually got a lot out of this particular book. So it's definitely a good one. This one was really good. It was recommended to me by somebody, and I'm thankful that he recommended it. The Great Crash 1929 by James Kenneth Galbraith. Really good book, obviously talking about the Great Depression. It gives you what happened throughout the period. Really easy to read. It was an easy read, 224 pages, but explained very easily. I loved it. America's Great Depression by Murray Rothbard. Fantastic book. What I will say is it can really get boring. I'm not gonna lie. This can be boring because he'll say, on this day at this time there was a meeting. In that meeting, this guy was here. He was with Goldman Sachs, and there was this guy here with J.P. Morgan. He was this guy, and that kind of level of detail repeats throughout the book. So some of that, you got to kind of skim through, and that's fine. But understand that kind of thing does come up. Okay, so just be aware of that. This one, fantastic. The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. I read the abridged version, which is still 500 pages and super small font. Look around don't go on Amazon to buy this book. I only included it because it was all Amazon links. It's, as you can see here, $600. Some other places you'll see it for $250. I probably bought it for less than $100. I can't remember. But if you could find this book, read this book. You'll get to about 30% through the book and you are just, you don't need to read anymore. It goes chronologically through all different documents. Like, it is the most heavily documented book I've ever seen. It's like, here's the document and then here's the explanation, and just talks about the education system and why it is, I can't get into all of that, but there's no question, if you read this book, you are going to be just shocked out of your mind. The detail on it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So that's kind of different, but see, all of this is like well-rounding my knowledge over the period. Okay, it's because you can't, if you're just on Bloom, like my knowledge. Let's go into that aspect. Okay, so we're moving to the third part 3. I started like Economics 101. Okay, the economics textbooks. Okay, cool. And then, of course, at that time, Bloomberg website, CNBC, general financial knowledge. Okay, that's great. It's good. Having no depth beyond that. And then I come into learning about, the G. Edward Griffins and all this, and it just expanded my worldview. Like, I had the blinders on. And then many years ago, I started reading all these books. And actually, just beyond the green screen behind here is all my books. These are only the financial books, and I only covered a few of them. By the way, notable mentions: Ron Paul, Peter Schiff, Jim Rogers, Marc Faber, William Engdahl. Engdahl, spelled Engdahl. His book Seeds of Destruction. That was another one. I'm not talking about those in that video, and I got a lot of, let's call it, health-related books. Many of those books. I didn't talk about them on this video, and a lot of those subjects actually you're not allowed to talk about, so I can't even list those for you. But I read those many years ago. So I started to see like the bureaucracy and how things are set up and why it's designed to keep us from knowing certain levels of information. And so on this platform, I do what I can. I try to bring that to you. I noticed most people, they don't really want to go, like the general public, not you, of course. but the general public doesn't want to even go past the CNBC Bloomberg level. That's more than enough, okay? And I get that. I understand that. But I know there's a small group of people that do. So that's what these videos obviously are for. And that's why I recommend these books. Some of them are a little bit more mainstream, but that broadens your view when you start to learn about, what did Ray Dalio have to say? Okay, the guy is a billionaire. The guy's an insider. The guy obviously is buddies with, China. He's doing business with China. He's doing deals with this and that. I get that, but I still want to hear what he has to say. Still informative, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to, whatever Ray Dalio says, that's it, that I only need to know. No, I want to know what all of them say. And so, that's really what I wanted to get into, just to explain the fact that this has been a very long time coming. I've been reading for many, many years. What I do now, so oftentimes, basically during my exercise, daily exercise, I listen to an audiobook, and I just go through different audiobooks. When I had more time to sit down before I started up multiple businesses, I had more time to literally just sit down and read. There's nothing better, in my opinion, more enjoyable than a beautiful espresso and then having a herbal tea, like a mint tea, way too much detail, but anyway, mint tea, and reading a book. It's just stimulates the mind incredibly. I love that. Trust me. But at the same time, I want to make maximum use of the time I have. So when I was constantly, moving here and there, traveling on a daily basis, I would listen to audiobooks because maybe I'm in the car, maybe I'm on the subway, maybe I'm on the train, maybe I'm walking from a distance. Every single moment of that, there was an audiobook in my ear. I don't even know how many hours. I really don't know how many hours. Just incredible amount on every subject that you can think of. Public speaking, like just think about it. I've listened to seminars, audiobooks, presentations, courses I've taken, all these different things, just on constantly. Just on constantly. And I think I've got a lot of value over time. So I love both. There's no doubt. But they each have their place. That's all. And also, like I've listened to several Grant Cardone books, for instance. I didn't put them in here. I don't think it's essential reading at all. But I listened to the audiobooks, and I think the audiobooks are better than his actual written books. Why? Because the author himself is reading it. And that gives another level. To it. So whenever the author is actually reading out the book, I love that. So for some of them, Ray Dalio and Tony Robbins, in those cases there, they do the introduction and conclusions. So you get a little bit of that, but not the whole thing, right? So anyway, I've gone on way too long. I hope you appreciate the information. Let me know what you think of these books. Put them in the comments below. We can talk about that. What you thought about these books. If you read the book, you got that recommendation, you buy the book, and on later videos, you can always let me know. Hey, I took your advice there. I read that book. It was good. It was bad. Didn't like this, like that, whatever. Let me know. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. Like minds are always something that I'm interested in, finding out the information you have and so on. Put any other book recommendations down below as well. Obviously it's not an exhaustive list, but just a few, and that's all. If you appreciate the information, hit that thumbs up. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.